Hey guys, Lost here, and today I'm going to talk about the new DLC that was just launched for Arma 3 today, and that was the Law of War DLC. The question really is today, is the DLC worth it? I kind of want to talk about what is in this DLC, what it has to offer. I don't want to go too in-depth. This isn't a showcase or an unpacking of the DLC by any means, but I do kind of want to get a general feel for it and tell you, in my opinion, what I think of it. So at the 30-second mark here, I'm going to give you my answer because I don't want to waste your time for the next 5 minutes. I bought this DLC so you didn't have to. First off, is this a good DLC? I'll say yes, it's a fantastic concept, and I do kind of like some of the features that were brought into it. However, I'm going to say no, you should not buy it. I'm going to tell you why I think that and kind of what this DLC is about in this video. All in all, this DLC is a different kind of DLC if you know anything about it. I'm going to explain it anyway. This new content does not add a whole lot in the warfare aspect of the game. This DLC is all about the humanitarian effort and rebuilding a country after a war. And I don't mean to say that it has nothing to do with the military, but there are no guns or grenades or bombs really put into it, save for a few aircraft. This DLC focuses on the civilians, the first aid, the supply drops, all of the things that go into kind of helping revive a war-torn country, on the civilian side at least. And personally, as somebody who is getting back into the realism and milsim side of Arma, this is super cool because not all of warfare is simply shooting and killing. A lot of it is dealing with civilians and people of different countries in the areas that you're at. So a short overview of more of the specific things brought in by this DLC. The main thing offered is IDAP. This is a brand new faction which stands for the International Development and Aid Project, so essentially a Red Cross type thing. This faction brings in a few new transport vehicles, ambulances, and vans for moving large amounts of people, kind of civilian things like I said. There is some new gear, some paramedic uniforms, construction worker outfits for repairing infrastructure. There are also some new drones that are brought in for dropping supplies and food and such for the humanitarian aid efforts. A new system that was added was actually a mine detection system. It was reworked a little bit, makes it a little bit more functional, which I think is pretty neat because, as we know, after wars in certain countries, there's lots of mines and undetonated explosives that were left over, which definitely plays a huge part in the lives of the civilians that live there. There's also another neat little thing that was added, and that is a Pamphlet Drop system where you can actually fly a plane over a certain area, drop customizable pamphlets down to the people below. So maybe if you're playing in an All This Life server, you can just fly over and send everybody to a certain location, tell them to go one way or that. It's a really neat way to interact with people on the ground. A slightly larger part of this DLC is a mini single-player campaign that has been added in. Now this single-player campaign will take you about 5 to 6 hours to complete, and it focuses around a humanitarian aid project going on inside a country. You take the place of a worker to go in and help defuse bombs, kind of take care of the place after wars happened. Although you do have to deal with some gray areas, some hazy things that happen in a war, you know, the fog of war, death of civilians, things that happen that maybe shouldn't be happening in war. All of those are things that are brought into this campaign through this DLC. So I'm going to give you an example really quick of this DLC from some of the new content that was brought in through a scenario. So I was playing the scenario, and in this mission I had to go into this area of civilians. It was in the virtual arsenal, so the people, or the civilians, were purple, the enemies were red, and the friendly players were green. I went into this group of civilians, had to clear it out, make sure everybody was all safe. After about 5 minutes, I hadn't seen anything, and all of a sudden I was getting shot at, and I actually got shot one time. I looked and looked and looked, I couldn't find any red enemies, even though I had a team and we were looking around, couldn't find anything. Only soon did I realize it was actually a civilian shooting at me with a gun, so I had to kill him. Now I didn't see him in the first place because he was purple. I didn't expect him to be an enemy because he was a civilian, and that is the thing that you don't really get to see in Arma 3. You're always used to fighting uniformed soldiers. That was one moment that was kind of iconic for me that made me think, okay, this DLC is a little bit different than all of the others. So all in all, the content amount is not anything absurd. It's all some pretty small stuff that make for a much more interesting Arma. Now you're probably thinking, dude, you just hyped this DLC up for the last 4 minutes. Why did you say no, you shouldn't buy it? Well, I don't necessarily even mean this DLC specifically. I mean most of the DLCs that are released for Arma 3 in general are just not worth buying because of the modding community. Obviously, the devs have some abilities to create things in the game that the modders don't, and some of the DLCs have made some pretty good improvements to the game. However, I still think that you can get far more enjoyment out of a lot of free mods than some of the little DLCs that the devs put in. Here's an example. I only own about half of the DLCs in Arma 3, yet most of my time is spent in servers and on communities that don't even require a DLC in the first place, except for maybe Apex. And I really want to say that that is nothing against Bohemia Interactive, that's nothing against Arma. It's just the fact that there are so many mods out there and so many mod creators that can create such large quantities of content that can even rival Bohemia Interactive for free. You know, you want some new civilian vehicles or planes or apparel, I can guarantee you I've reviewed a mod about it. If you want some new weapons, I've reviewed lots of mods about that. And if you want to experience a whole military entirely, I can guarantee you there's about 1,000 mods out there that you can download for free that are perfectly fine, that are super fun to play. So this video isn't meant to be a jab at the devs by any means, though it sort of is. I definitely think that they could offer a lot more. I know they're doing a great job, and it is somewhat unfair to judge them because of the mod base of this game. Any other game with a mod community like this would probably have the same issue, to be completely honest. But as somebody who downloads large quantities of mods, reviews them, and really gets into them frequently, this is just what I think. So it's a very nice DLC overall. Of course, if your Altus Life server requires this DLC for you to play on it, then sure, download the DLC. It's nothing to complain about. It's nothing super expensive. But leave your comments in the comment section below. I really want to hear what you think. Maybe you think that this DLC is fantastic and it's worth its weight in gold. I really do appreciate all the comments and all the feedback. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you guys later.